It is a good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It looks like we are live. Let me check this out before. It is a good. Yeah, we are live. Y'all know I'm over here, a one woman's show. Listen, happy hump day. Happy hump day. We are in this month of July and everything. We are in the second day of July. And listen, we going into the holiday. You guys make sure you're safe out there. But while we are going into the holiday, I think that this topic is the perfect topic. Okay. Today we are talking about healing. So as we get more into this getting to self-actualization series, today we are talking about how healing is messy but so worth it. Okay? And when we talk about healing, we're not just talking about healing from trauma. We're healing from when we have to get over relationships because that can cause an impact from you. You got to heal from that. When it comes to dealing with people in general, and it can be any type of relationship, right? And I'm going to share a few stories about some of the things that I had to learn to heal from, and and I know everyone does. Everyone has their things, but then what I never realized about healing was that things happen at different phases in your life that causes you to need to heal at that stage for something that you thought you already healed from, and I'm gonna come back to that. So when we talk about healing, we're going to talk about it today in three parts. Part one: why is healing so messy? Because healing is grieving. It's just like I said, it's letting go of people, beliefs, or part of yourself. And grief is not linear. It's up, down, sideways. Like I said before, when you go through certain parts of your life, you don't even realize that you got to heal from things at a later stage than before, right? Because you feel like, okay, I've gotten over this, but wait a minute, wait a minute now. There's something else about this that I didn't even think about, right? Because now you're at a different stage, right? One of the things about healing, one thing you're gonna do, you're gonna cry because the healing is listen, healing is ugly, it's messy. You're gonna cry, you're gonna isolate yourself, you're gonna get mad, you're gonna even backslide when you're healing. When you're healing, one thing I know about healing is that no one's healing journey looks the same. No one's healing journey looks the same. And one thing I like to say, or one thing I have to remind myself, I'm not going to say like to say, but one thing I have to remind myself about is when I'm healing from something or I'm going through something, looking back, I had to realize that, listen, my healing journey is my healing journey. And although I might do things that I would normally do, or I might do things that's unapprovable for people or unapproved by other people, I knew that I had to do whatever I need to do in order to get through those storms, right? Because a healing journey is messy. Some people turn to substance, some people turn to acting out in certain behaviors. When they're healing, people do different things. And as we get older and we get out of those stages, it's like, okay, wow, I can't believe I got through that. And one thing about that is that I think that people, even in their self actualization journey or in their journeys in life, period, they tend to hold on to things that they did when they were in the healing places in their lives, right? And it's like, how can you judge yourself? Like you learn, because one thing about life is that we're not going to be perfect in anything we do. We're going to try our best at it, but we're going to make mistakes in terms of so many different things. Anytime life gives you an obstacle, you're gonna make some mistakes getting through that obstacle, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that this obstacle is a new obstacle. You don't know that this new thing that you're going through is turning you, every which way but loose. And you're like, okay, I don't like this. Okay, I don't like how this feels. But you got to go through it. You have to go through it because listen, one thing about it is that I know for me, I'm gonna tell you a story real quick. So many years ago, I had a best friend, okay, and things occurred because things occurred, right? And I'm not gonna get too much into the relationship, but things occurred, right? This was my best friend that I had. She and I met like in maybe '99 or 2000 while we were both serving in the military. And because of things happening, we're no longer friends. We don't even talk. We haven't talked in years except through, simple hello or email or something like that. However, the problem that I have with this, because we're no longer friends, and us being friends had nothing to do with me. It was an outside force. It had nothing to do with me because she had to pick a side. And the side that she picked, I understood because I would have probably picked the same side, you know. But with that being said, she has my goddaughter. And so what I didn't realize is this year, as a matter of fact, my goddaughter graduates from high school. And so 4 years prior to this, I remember feeling some kind of way because she was entering high school and I could no longer be a part of that. And so that was something that I had to heal from. You know, it was like, oh my God, because I mean, I don't. She's never given me. I've never been put on guard from having access to my goddaughter, but by her being a minor, although she'll be 18 this year, the way I saw it, you know, it was simple. Like, listen, you know, I'm not gonna overstep my boundaries when it came to her. So I said once she turned 18, I would let her decide. But I knew for me that I needed to heal from, you know, hey, not only did I lose my friend, but I lost my goddaughter. I lost, you know, phases in her life that until she gets to a certain age and she gets to make a choice, I'm no part of. And so sometimes that's a lot. And so what I'm saying is that I didn't know that I had to heal from that. I didn't know that because it was one thing healing from the ideal of her not being in my life. But now she's 18, or excuse me, now she's in high school, and now she's getting ready for these school dances, and now she's doing this, and now she's wearing this, and those are turning places in her life that I always want to be a part of. So we don't know that we have to go through that, and that's why they say that the healing is like this. You know, it's not like this. It's not linear, right? You go up, you come back down, you backslide, you do all of that. But one thing you have to do is understand that it's a process. It is a process. You have to be aware of it. And so that brings us to part two. When it comes to healing, although it's messy, it does not mean that you are broken. Okay, because people have this idea that, well, you know, this person got this issue. You're not broken. Listen, if you, especially when you are aware that this is going on, or this has happened, or this is in your life, or this is impacting your life, right? You know, when people talk about they have mommy issues or daddy issues or whatever kind of issues they have in life, that doesn't mean you are broken. That means that you are aware of your healing process. You are aware that certain things will trigger you because we're human, right? I wish that there was this thing where we can 100% at all times of our lives have complete control of our emotions. I don't care if it's just that every now and then something slips out, right? We don't operate that way. Why? Because we're not AI. We're not robots. Okay? We react sometimes in a way because we're human. And so because of that, when you're healing from things, like you'll have an emotion that you didn't even know you needed to heal from. Like I was on a podcast the other day and I mentioned something. And when I mentioned that, because it was the podcast was a live podcast as well, so it's being aired soon. Um, but at the same time, when I mentioned something, immediately I found myself shedding tears, and I didn't even know that I was going to have that reaction to that thing that I said in that moment. But what I recognized though is that it was a reaction because in that moment I just really realized how far that I had came from being in that particular hurt, from healing from those things. And so those reaction to those tears reactions was not because I'm still in that hurt, but because I recognize how far I've come from being in that hurt. You know what I mean? And so I can talk about it in a way where I was able to talk about it from a place of healed or healing, as opposed from a place where I haven't even touched the surface, right? I heard something the other day where a person says that the best place that you can speak from is a scar, not a wound. And I think that is one thing that I'm gonna always keep in my in my bag of little cliches and sayings. You have to teach from a scar, not a wound. And the reason being is because when you teach from a scar, excuse me, from a wound, it's still open, it's still healing, it's still in the process. You don't know if it's going to get better. You don't know if it's going to stop the healing process right then. You don't know if it's going to infection going to set in. You don't know what's going to happen. No matter how much you treat it, it's still a wound until it heals completely and then it becomes a scar. So once it becomes a scar, then you can talk about the healing process. Then you can talk about the transformations. Then you can talk about what happened and how you rectified those problems, because now it's a scar as opposed to an open wound. And when you think about that, I really think that's important, because I think a lot of times we want to try to understand things while we're going through it. And sometimes we have to get out of it to understand it. And that's when the healing process really starts. That's when you really, really understand, because you can see things from a different lens now, right? You can see it from a different lens because, like I said, one thing about healing is messy, but that doesn't mean you are broken. Healing exposes what was always there. And the exposure ain't the problem, the hiding was. So when you heal something and you understand that those are things that you have to work through, it took me a long time to understand that things that I went through as a young girl impacted my relationships as an adult. Now, I'm not saying that they were the reasons for anything, but I understand how they all tied in together, right? I understand how I had this shut off switch when it came to certain things, right? And so I realized that came from childhood. That came from, being disappointed as a child. That come from that always having to fight my own battles or fight my battles as a child, or always been in that survival mode. And so I didn't realize that in my relationships, right, until, well after that was some, because in other words, I didn't understand how to what's the word? I felt like when a person does something several times, that's just who they're going to be, right? But I also recognize that for me, that was a survival element in me as well, right? In other words, once I've done all I can, I'm out, right? I'm out, because why? I've seen what it looks like when you stay in it. I've seen the promises being broken, because I come from a childhood where a father promised this and promised that, and never followed up on any of them, right? And so I understood how those things played into my life, into my relationships, right? And so I recognized that, because when you're young, you're 18, 19, when you're dating, you get married, you don't understand all those things. You're like, I'm good, I'm surviving, because in our lives, a lot of times we think that progressing in our life, in terms of careers, in terms of finances, in terms of, maybe you'll glow up or whatever, we think that that's what healing looks like, right? But healing is those things where you really, really sit with. Just because you listen, healing. While I was going through my divorces, right, I finished 3 degrees. I started and retired from the military. I had 2 children. I raised 2 more children. In other words, when I tell you is that I was still doing all these things while all these other things was going on in life. So anybody from the outside looking in will look and say, okay, well, she's moving. She got her, she's doing this, she's doing that. And I am. But two things can be true at one time, right? Chaos was happening. But I still had to stay firm over here, because why? Eventually, I knew things were balanced out. Now, was it difficult? Was it sometimes I had to take a knee? Absolutely. More times than I like to care to admit, right? More times, matter of fact, I probably should have took a knee more often, and I didn't. And that's why I suffer from things, right? So when we talk about healing, like I said, it looks different for everybody. And when you get through it, which is now the scar, you can actually teach from that place, right? And understand how everything ties into each other. Understand how, listen, I know why I went through this in order to get to here, because all of it is part of the process. And that's why they say healing is messy, right? Because when you get to the other side of it, it's going to be something greater. Something that I wanted to say, and I always like to put this in there, because when I have my little meditations in the morning time, and when I'm thinking about what I want to say when I'm doing these lives, I always want to have like a little quote that people can take with them. And so today, what I want to tie into is this: you are being rebuilt from the inside out, and sometimes demolition has to happen before divine design. And so this is what it means when we say we're healing, right? It's ugly. You do the ugly cry, listen, and you might, your body, when it comes to healing from many things, you might substitute it for other things. Because like I said, healing is just not about, a hurt or a trauma, right? It's not just about something, it could be anything. It can be, what I have to now heal from like one of the things that I know that I had to heal from was the protection of the military, right? That was something that I didn't understand. It wasn't anything, but because I felt like one thing about the military. Let me get my words together. One thing about the military is if you are missing too long from formation, okay, matter of fact, a day, a half a day, if your tail ain't at first call formation, somebody is calling for you, okay. By that afternoon, if you still not able to get in touch with, somebody's at your house knocking on your door, okay. 24 hours later, okay, or something like that, by the time work call come, we have notified the MPs that we cannot find you. It ain't no waiting 24 hours and all that kind of stuff like in the civilian world. If you miss a whole day, we have notified the MPs. We are starting paperwork on you to see, we are checking that we are doing all the things before 24 hours, right? So when I retired from the military, all those things were gone. Those safety precautions that were in place were gone, because now here I was, a single woman with children. I don't have nobody looking for me. If my kids are somewhere and I'm walking around the house, especially when my daughter was little, that was one of my fears. Like, okay, she can't even dial 911, because I had never been in those situations before. So what I mean by healing from certain things, I didn't understand that I had to heal from that independence of, or that dependence of being in the military, right? That was something I had to learn to get away from. Because even when it came to certain things, like I was just used to certain things and I didn't have that coverage anymore. And those experiences were still emotional for me, because I had to go through that. I didn't, because now I'm really single, okay? I don't have a husband, and I don't have Uncle Sam no more, okay? I don't have none of the men no more. Only, just me and God, just me and the Holy Spirit, just me and the Holy Spirit. That's how it's been now for 9 years since I retired, 15 years since my last divorce, okay? Just me and God, just me and God. So Uncle Sam is gone and the husbands are gone, okay? And my boys are now older and grown, okay? So it's just me and the girl, okay? So anyway, let's move this right along. So part 3 of this, staying in the work, right? This is how you know that this, when I talk about the divine design, making sure that you keep going, because it's a process, because what's on the other side is amazing. So these things right here will help you get through this. Stay in the work, and this is like a 3-part healing map. Number 1, truth. Name what hurts without the filter. Okay? Name what hurts. Listen, I had to name, I don't like being single. By no means I don't like being single, right? I don't like having to be responsible for everything, right? But it's been like this for 15 years, okay? But at the same time, it's something that I had to understand. I had to go through, right? I had to understand when you go through a divorce and things like that. So, like, listen, that was something I had to be honest about. I didn't like any of those things. Moving forward, right? Not having a father, not having certain things in my life. Like the world, like I have to constantly be aware of my surroundings. I have to constantly be aware of what's related to what and what could possibly trigger me. Because one thing about being single is that you don't have that person necessarily. Now, you may have friends, you may have friend girls, you may have guy friends, you may have whoever, you may have a therapist, but that person that you can do pillow talk with and really be vulnerable with, right? That's something that you have to say, okay, how do I make sure that I still get what I need? You know what I'm saying? Without having that in there. So when I talk about my truths, I'm very honest in my truth. Listen, I don't like that situation. I don't like that. The tension, sit in the discomfort without escaping. The things that you feel like you need to heal from, go through the emotions. People have this thing about, well, don't cry. Listen, if you tell me something, okay, because I'm an empath and because I am spiritual, a lot of ways I'm spiritual, and I feel energies of people. If you're telling me something about yourself and it's emotional, and I feel that you're emotional about it, oh, I'm gonna cry, baby. I'm gonna cry. So if you don't like crying, don't tell me about it. Don't you tell me about it, because I'm gonna cry, because I can feel it and I can't help it, right? I can't help it. So that is the feeling that we have to sit in sometimes. We have to sit in it, in the discomfort, without escaping. If you cry or do whatever you need to do, listen, go to one of them smash yards where you could pay somebody to smash up some stuff, or go to a junkyard where you could smash up some stuff for free probably. Okay? Do that. But no matter what, you have to address it. You can't run away from it because it's just like they say, pressure busts a pipe. It's only so long you could put a band-aid on something, right? And then the last part of the three part of messy healing map is transformation. Let the lesson shape your next move. What are you going to do to make sure that you're not in a situation again? Or better yet, next time something like this happen, right? How will you respond? How will you respond? Will you be able to handle it? Because you never know. You never know the things that you go through in life, right? You never know when you heal from something. That's even relationships, right? When I got married the first time, of course I had to heal from that marriage, okay? I got married the second time like 4 or 5 years later, right? So when I got married the second time, of course, the first time I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to ever recover from this, okay? Because this is heartbreaking. So when I got married the second time, I felt the same way. However, because I had got through it the first time, I knew I could do it the second time. Now, was there things that were different? Absolutely. There were so many things that were different, but I knew that I could survive, right? I'm not saying it was going to be pretty because Lord knows it was not pretty. It wasn't pretty. You can go over on the X Numize and check it out and see it wasn't pretty. Okay, it was not pretty. So yeah, on YouTube, go check out the X Numize, all right, and see that our divorce was not pretty. Our relationship was not pretty. We had to go through it. And so moving forward with my third husband, right, my next husband. Listen, I understand everything about life. I understand that I'm going to heal from certain things. I understand that different things happen at certain levels. What I was going through and healing from in my 30s and 40s is not the same as the things that I embraced in my 50s, right? Or I have to heal from in my 50s. Because now there's more things that I've been through. Every year you live, there's more things you've been through, and there's a process. There's more messiness happening. There's more things that you didn't even really know that was added onto it or piled up into it, right? So again, three ways that 3-part messing healing map: truth, name what hurts without a filter, tension, sit in the discomfort without escaping, and transformation. Let the lesson shape your next move. All right. Encourage you. Here's some encouragement. Honor the ugly days. Listen, I have ugly days almost every day. Almost every day. I have ugly days almost every day. I don't even know why, right? I would say out of a 7-day period, at least 4 of them days, I cry. I don't even know why I be crying. I just be crying because I know I feel stuff, so I have to release it, and I'll cry, right? So yes, there are going to be some ugly days, and honor those days. Rest without guilt, and keep showing up messy. It still counts. Keep showing up messy. Don't run away from it. You can't run away from anything. You have to sit in it, okay? So now, healing is a rebirth, and like any birth, it's painful, loud, and unpredictable, but powerful. Keep going. The version of you is on the other side of this. She gonna blow your mind. He, she, them, they're gonna blow your mind. Listen, we are in the double digits of getting to self-actualization. And if you guys have been rocking with me, I appreciate you. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the response, the views, and everything. Even if y'all not leaving comments, I can still see the view count, and I'm loving it. But what I will say is, coming next week, this series, which is a 45-part series, will be moving to YouTube on a live. I will be continuing to post clips here, but the permanent live will be over on YouTube. And so if you are now catching this replay on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that subscribe, follow, turn on your notifications, do everything, okay? So when I go live, you will know. And if I didn't introduce myself this morning, I am Yashika Foster, your self-actualization coach and life strategist. And you are watching me on many platforms, and this is Hood Parenting. And if you are ready to get serious about your self-actualization journey, hit me up in the DMs. Comment below this video, set up an appointment. The link is above, or whatever. Do whatever you got to do, right? Hit me up. The first 15-minute consultation is free. We can go from there. I have tiers. I have packages. I have self-paced, whatever you want. But I can tell you one thing. When you work with me on that 15-minute consultation, you're going to want to hire me. Trust me. You're going to be like, I didn't even know I needed all this energy in my life. I'll see you guys on the next slide. Bye.